Council meeting. We have we have five council members present. Councilmember Whitelock is online. Councilmember Bloom should be joining us shortly online, but is not yet in attendance. First item here is the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by
Mr. Freilich.
Mr. Who?
Mr. Freilich, Public
Mr.
Services.
Freilich from.
And Councilmember Bloom has joined.
Oh, and Councilmember Bloom is here. Wonderful. Mr. Freilich.
What? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Corey. And now we have our public comment period. We do have 4 that have signed up, that have filled out a card at the out in the lobby out there, and that wish to speak. And we'll go in the order they were handed to me. And that means the first one is Betty Naylor. I'll invite you to come on up. This is your opportunity to address the council. By the way, you get 3 minutes unless you're representing a group, in which case say that you are, and then you get 5 minutes. And if you're online, again, you need to raise your hand.
My name is Betty Naylor, 1229 West, 8450 South, West Jordan. Members of the City Council, I am here tonight representing members of our neighborhood concerning a change of use of the Haga outlet on 13th West and off of 90th South. Neighbors have heard that this location is being taken over by the State Department of Corrections for state mandated programs for those who have been just released from prison. Is this true? If so, why has there been no public notification given to especially the neighbors that will be impacted? A citizen has obtained information from West Jordan City Director of Public Affairs, Barker, that it will be a counseling/training facility, but the city does not know what type. They have not applied at the time that we got this information for a business license. The neighborhood has the following concerns. Number 1, why has there not been any notification given to the neighbors for this type of change and the potential of the impact it will have by the people which will be coming to it? Number 2, there is the Riverside Elementary School that is, according to a flight of a bird, 179 feet from the proposed facility. Students will be walking by it to get to and from school. Is it going to be safe for them? Number 3, there is a church across the street with a Bowery and open grass field. Will this become an inviting place for a hangout for those who are attending the facility? Number 4, is the proposed facility an appointment-based come and go facility, or will the people be staying there overnight or for extended periods of time? Number 5, how do we obtain accurate and ongoing information for what's going on in our neighborhood, especially for this facility? Number 6, what help are you going to give us to keep our neighborhood safe if the city allows this type of establishment to come in with the people that it is going to attract? Who is going to be our city contact person? Thank you.
Thank you. Before we continue with public comment really quick, how many are here to speak on this same issue? Let's get just an idea. Okay, I see two others that are in the room. And I do have 3 other cards here, so. Did you see 3? Okay, sorry. My eyes aren't all that great, so, you know, you're all a blurry mess to me. No, I'm just kidding. This is a little unusual, but there's some confusion what's the right way to say this? About what's happening with that specific property. And this is a little unusual to do this, but just so that everybody's not bringing up the same concern over something that's not really a concern. This is not a state-run halfway house type facility. That's not what the application is for this site. It's not the state. That's not who's working on this. The state is working on another location in the city that we have heard of, but has not yet been announced. But it's not here. So just wanted to put that out there. I don't know if that clears anything up. Maybe our staff can answer some more questions as that goes on, but I still gonna give you all the time to speak your piece. So. Yeah.
I just want to also add that from what I've seen, I don't have details. No one will be living there or residing at that
Right, no
location.
overnight. Yeah, it's a commercial location. There's no overnight stays. The next person I have up to speak is Bess George is the next card I have. Sure. Yeah, okay, we'll move Steven to the front. Steven, I think that's your signature.
Yes. First off, I'd like to thank you guys for allowing me to be here and talk. This came up yesterday very quickly to all of us. And so as you can imagine, you find out there's going to be a rehabilitation center for people that have been convicted. This is not people that haven't been incarcerated yet, but they have done their time and they're going through the process again. So we're very, very concerned. I'm the number one concerned person because my house is directly next door. This was dropped into my lap yesterday when a bunch of noise was going on. And I wandered over to find out what this was all about. And this contractor told me that it is going to be, rehab for convicted felons. And he showed me the plans. And of course, I became upset wondering, how could this happen without any of us knowing about it? And of course, I alerted all my neighbors, and here we are. And so I've elected myself to be a spokesperson because it's going to impact me mostly because, first off, before going forward, I would like to thank the mayor for all the time he's had with me. He's met with me. We've talked on the phone, and I really appreciate it. You've really listened to my concerns, which I'm really surprised. But it's been very helpful. And so I want to make sure we address this to where we're having good communication and no one's attacking each other. So my backyard is right next to this property and the parking lot. And I don't know if any of you with city council have had the pleasure of meeting Doug Haga, who owns the property, but he has not been a good property owner. Everything's always shady, under the rug, and never truthful. And so when this came up, immediately it set up red flags thinking, what is happening here? I am very, very empathetic to the concerns of the community, and I'm incredibly empathetic to people who need rehab. I personally have a family member who's gone through several rehab situations, and it slowly is working now after about 15 years. I was involved with a person that's jumped through the hoops of rehab, and I've seen the awfulness of it, and it almost bankrupted me. Identity theft and robbery and burglary and getting into my bank account. And my biggest concern is that as a neighborhood, with these type of people come, I hope you let me talk just a little bit longer because I'm representing my neighborhood.
Alan, let's
Could I
give him
have just a little
the
bit
other 2
longer?
minutes. He did mention representing a group.
So with this element, it's not that we're not empathetic, but we also know that with this element that people are going through rehab, it brings people that are sketchy. They're going through a sketchy motions. And when they enter your neighborhood, they don't make the best choices sometimes. They may be high, they may be going through a personal crisis. And I've been around enough of these folks in my life, and I have a lot of deep love, and I know my neighbors do. But there's an element of opportunists that cause crime. You know, I don't even think with this place where it's going, I don't think the city council is even aware that the junior high pickup and drop off is right there where this location is. And that it's literally 7 houses from the elementary school. And for me, there's a huge concern because I've seen how people that are trying to get help are also opportunists. And all they got to do is reach out to one kid to be their buyer or their seller or their this. Anyway, I love my neighborhood. I love my neighbors. And we have this unique direction that we have. And I don't want to lose it. And I think we deserve transparency and we deserve to have a voice. And that if we could be a part of the process, we would all really appreciate it. Like, and know every step. We would like to know how it got started, how nobody knew about it, where the funding's coming from. I mean, all that would make us as a neighborhood be more involved. And maybe if this does happen, we could be helpful. But we don't like feeling like it's being pushed on us. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and go to Bess George.
Good evening. Excuse me. My greatest concern, I'm going to ask you all a question. Do you have children? Do you have grandchildren? Do you think about pedophiles? Do you think about kidnapping? You don't know where these young men or these prisoners are coming from. You don't know what their life is out. Steve talked about choices they made, choices we make. We love our children. We don't want to let go of our children. I'm an overprotective grandmother. I'm really an overprotective grandmother. My kids have a fit. That's why they live in Texas, North Carolina. And I still worry about them. I want you to go to bed tonight and think about that. Your children or your grandchildren being kidnapped or being pedophiled. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next one up is Shannon Atkinson.
Evening. Thank you for hearing from us. Like Steve and my other neighbor said, we're just concerned that we don't know what's going to happen here, who's going to be there, you know, what kind of presence we can expect. Are our kids and our homes going to be safe? I live next door to Steve, so I'm just a house and a street away from here. This little area right here already has issues just because of the traffic and the speeding. I saw a kid almost get hit right in front of my house on 13th because people don't slow down for the crosswalks. And is this going to bring further issues to our little area there? It is a great neighborhood. Like, everyone works really hard and does the right thing. Steve puts little slabs out for the crossing guard there. We shovel the snow there for the kids. We just want to keep this area, you know, nice. And I completely understand that people are needing rehab. I have a cousin who's a felon, but is sandwiched between 2 houses and around a bunch of other houses the best place for it. When I looked at the state-run facilities, they are all next to the city buildings, like they would be in City Hall or next to the police stations. They're not in neighborhoods. And that's our biggest concern, is just that, is there going to be a larger police presence there if this goes through to keep that cleaned up? I mean, I've asked for more police there just because of the speeding and I don't see it. So I'm, again, just concerned that this could cause more issues in our neighborhood, which, you know, like you said, we have hundreds of kids who cross right there, right in front of our house. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump away from this facility that is the only disgusting place around there. Right now, I drove past and there's a mattress and garbage in the parking lot. So it's not a well-run building, like Steve said. It's not managed well. It's always been gross. Someone leased that building and brought in invasive species that destroyed our lawns that we've had to take care of over the last several years. So like we've asked, is just keep us in the loop. Let us know what's happening. Help us to keep our neighborhood, our kids safe. You know, can my kids go out and jump on the trampoline by themselves and be safe if this goes through? It's just a concern as a mother and an aunt. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to address the council on this or any other issue? Go ahead and come on up. And since we didn't have a card, just give us your name.
I'm one of Steve's neighbors. My backyard actually butts up against the whole entire building, maybe 20 feet of the north side of the property, his property. We can kind of see through a little bit. He's had a box trailer there as long as I've lived in West Jordan in this house since 1999. There's been a trailer there as long as I've lived there. So it obstructs the view or the vision. So, you know, I don't know what's it all about. So I just have 4 points and I'll be quick. I'll try to. So I had my house appraised years ago and the building has always been a hot topic of concern as far as property value. So they finally talked to us about it, and usually it's a downer because it costs, they're noisy or they're intrusive or they have a lot of garbage or blah, blah, blah. We said, oh no, this place is nice. They just have daytime jobs, blah, blah. And they actually kind of turned a corner and thought that it could be in an opportunistic value for us to have this, you know, west side to our backyard property that gave us tremendous shade. And so if it does become available for night use, that's going to have a detrimental effect on the value of my home, I feel. That's one thing. So my second, any kind of a business that comes into this establishment and would, I don't want to say promote, but kind of facilitate any kind of congregations outside or smoking outside would be truly tragic for me. I enjoy being outside. I've lived in my house for a long time. I think my backyard is my castle. And to smell cigarette smoke in it would truly make me sick. I would not be able to stay. Third point, the outdoor perimeter around the space, there's already been like criminal activity off at 13th West that runs and hides under my neighbor's deck and helicopters, you know, looking for him. And so that's always been a concern. And so that's something that needs to be addressed as well. If there's going to be some kind of change from a family-run mattress business to any other thing. And then fourthly, there's a door on the back of the building on the northeast corner. It's literally probably 15 feet away from my backyard. I watched a man use it as his front door for extended amount of time, maybe several months. It was his. I've
Right.
always been concerned about that door. I assume it's a fire
think-
exit. And so when everything is all said and done, I feel like that should be also a secure part of the building, that it's established that it's not an in and out for anybody.
All right, thank you
Thank you.
for that. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to address the council on this or some other topic? You already actually had your bite, but don't worry, our staff is going to be in touch with you very shortly.
Council Chair,
Yeah,
I've asked Tawny to meet with any of those who want to immediately outside in the foyer if they want to
yeah,
talk. to
I
her.
was going to mention that Tony and Scott are going to do that. Okay, come on up, Chris.
Good evening, Chris McConaughey, West Jordan resident. First of all, that is really impressive that you had the agency meetings and then started the city council meeting exactly at 6:10, like the agenda said. I was shocked and amazed. Well done. Today is, I wanted to follow up regarding the fee schedule that is on the agenda. I've spoken about this particular fee on February 14th, emailed the council on February 16th, and again on May 9th. The fee that I've got a question about is the lot line amendment. And just real quick, the situation I'm in, back in the 70s when our neighborhood was put together, the developer filed a plat that didn't match where they actually put the fence lines. Had they done so, the homes would have actually been in violation of setback requirements. So where the fence is now is where it needs to be. I'm trying to get paperwork cleaned up so it's appropriate. As you look at what it takes to do this, other cities charge relatively little. South Salt Lake said there's no fee for them. West Valley is $100, Midvale $125, Draper $200. The median fee in the valley is $325. The proposed fee on our schedule is $2,552 plus $100 per hour. At the end of the day, the city's not the entity who's responsible for keeping the records for the property. That's the county. However, the county does require from the city a little paper that says that it's been looked at and no dwelling or, well, there's 4 simple items. We're not going to cause a line that goes through a building. We're not going to be in violation of setbacks. We're not causing utilities to be located for one property on another, and that the neighbors are in agreement. I know there's a lot going on during budget season. Looks like this one hasn't been looked at yet, but I would just ask again if you would please do so. Seeing as I still have about a minute left, a couple other things I wanted to share. First of all, we had an issue in our neighborhood earlier this week with a gentleman who was not in the proper state of mind. Our police came out, and as residents, we were able to kind of sit back, relax, and watch what happened, and just kind of stand in amazement at their ability to de-escalate situations. Had this been in another state, in another municipality, probably wouldn't have ended the same way. Thank you to Chief Wallenstein for all that he does with our police. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for funding the training and the policies that allow us to live in such comfort and safety. We very much appreciate what they do. Also need to express appreciation to Public Works and the help that they have provided, as we've had some contractors out there adding utilities that have been somewhat problematic. So quick, so responsive. And also to the folks who help with graffiti removal in the city, especially along the Jordan River Trail. Thank you so much for getting that. Again, Council, appreciate all you do. Thank you for your time to be here tonight away from your families and for hearing my.
An expert at the 3-minute comment. Thank you, Mr. McConaughey. Anybody else in the room who would like to address the council? Anne Marie, go ahead and come on up.
Hello, I'm Anne Marie Barrett, the manager of the Bingham Creek Library. And I'm just coming today to give you guys a little bit of an update about what's been going on at one of the libraries here in West Jordan. We have had a very successful start to our summer reading. That is still ongoing, and we welcome anybody who hasn't had a chance to sign up yet to come join us. For those who complete it, they get a free book and some other really cool free benefits. So we hope you come and sign up. We also have some really cool things coming up in July that we're very excited about. On July 1st, that's a Monday night at 7 o'clock, we have our family fun night, and we are actually going to have Mad Science out at the library at 7 o'clock that night doing Universe of Stories. They are an excellent group. If you're familiar with them, they do really fun things with science that are really great for kids and families. We also have on the 11th of July at 1:30 a sunlit solar party, which is going to be super awesome. We are going to have solar telescopes that you can safely observe the sun out in our area, like outside of our building, and it's going to be really awesome. So if you have an opportunity, you should definitely swing by. That's 1:30 in the afternoon, so we should have great views of the sun. We're really excited about it. And we are very happy to be part of the West Jordan community. It is such a great community to be part of. Wonderful people. Thank you so much for all your support.
Thank you. That does sound fun. Anybody else in the room who would like to address the council? All right, I'm seeing none in the room. Is there any online with a hand up, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, of the 18 participants online, Mr. Wilkinson has raised his hand.
We have one. All right, go ahead and unmute yourself, Mr. Wilkinson. You should be able to address the council, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I wasn't going to say anything tonight, but after hearing those concerned residents, I I have a few concerns. First of all, I've been bringing my concerns of a similar nature, things that affect children, the community, property values, and things like that, to the council for over 2 years. I was never given the opportunity to speak with Scott and Tani immediately. I was never told that someone would reach out to me about my concerns and my comments. So I'm curious why the people who spoke tonight are getting that kind of special treatment. And I think they should. I'm glad their concerns are being addressed. I'm curious why mine aren't and never were. I send emails to the council comments email address. I don't get a single response back. There's what, 7 of you? I send emails. I mean, I'd have to go back and count them. Probably dozens. Similar types of issues that affect kids, property values, like I said, nothing. So what's going on there? Is there I don't understand it. Just some equal treatment would be preferred. Could someone explain to me, or maybe Scott and Tani could reach out to me here, and you could immediately address my concerns tonight. I'm available. Happy to give you my number if that's possible. Also, when the first guy spoke up tonight about the halfway house or whatever you guys are calling it, I've looked into that, and I do think that the city is misleading you, those who commented. I'd be happy to talk to you as well if you're interested. I do have some unique information about that. But I'm curious why there was an intervention. Mr. Jacob, I think you intervened and said, no, actually, we're going to address this now. It's a little unusual. Why did you take that unusual step for them and their problem, but not for mine, and never have? These are fair questions, aren't they? Is it because I'm alone? I'd love answers to these. So if Scott and Tani are still there, hey, I'd love to talk to them. They can reach out to me immediately, just like you offered to help those people with. To those residents, West Jordan City is incompetent. Its leaders are incompetent. Its police force is incompetent. I'm speaking from experience here. If you comment and you cause a problem, they will attack your livelihood, right, Kelvin Green? Remember that? They will go after your livelihood. They will pursue criminal charges against you in error. I am speaking from experience. They are incompetent.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Wilkinson. We do have one more hand raised. Mr. Anderson, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Aranda.
Mr. Aranda, you should be able to unmute on the Zoom, and you will have 3 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you, Council Chair. My name's Alberto Jerem Aranda, West Jordan City resident. I've unfortunately only had the opportunity to attend one of these meetings in person, but I've done my best over the last couple of years to catch most of the posted live streams of these meetings afterwards to keep up on what goes on in my local government. I'm looking forward to commenting on the meeting next month where you are looking for public comment on the CREA agenda, as I do have some opinions that may interest the council before they make a decision on that issue. But for now, I thought I might offer a counterbalance to the occasional public comment berating various council members about incompetence by highlighting one thing I like about each individual council member. Please note that nothing I say today is necessarily an endorsement of any individual council member or an inclination that I will support you in your next election. This is simply to provide a positive counterbalance that I think would be appropriate after certain comments made about you in the past. So let's begin with Councilmember Green. Councilmember Green, your experience and knowledge of council procedures is highly valuable to the council. Very much appreciated. Councilmember Whitelock along those same lines. But also your focus on West Jordan City residents is appreciated. Councilmember Bloom, your focus on your personal values is commendable. And even if I don't necessarily agree with everything that you do, the focus you put on those is commendable. Lamb, a good balance of humility and willingness to put forward opinions on various issues is a very nice balance. Councilmember Bador, despite a few fumbles on this regard, I do appreciate your willingness to challenge various council members on various issues. If you could do this more tactfully in the future, I think you might see better results. Councilmember Jacob, I like your sense of humor. It keeps the council member, the council meetings light. Councilmember Shelton, just like you to keep doing what you're doing. I will vote for you again when the time comes. And Mayor, your time spent dealing with individual residents on their issues has been noticed, and it's very commendable and a reason I will vote for you again. So anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you, council. I hope to hear or hope to speak to you again.
Thank you for those comments. Is there anybody else online, Mr. Anderson?
None that have raised their hand.
All right, excellent. Anybody else in the room like to follow up with those, that last comment, or want to keep it, feel free. We'll give you another, no, I'm just kidding. All right, anybody else in the room? One more chance if anybody else who hasn't spoken wants to speak. All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Next on the agenda is the council report. But I was wondering, I think one of our citizen commenters did have a point. A lot of concerns were brought up during citizen comment that I think maybe should be addressed publicly because they were made publicly. It's, you know what? No, that's okay. For those that are here who spoke about the property, the Haga property, Scott Langford, our Development Director, Tawny Barker. No, I think we're good. Tawny Barker is our public information person. Will you guys go over to the lobby in the mayor's area, just so that you're not right outside the door having an animated conversation? And I would extend that same courtesy. Anybody who wants to comment to the city council and our staff that's here can answer a question. You are welcome to step out in the hallway and chat with our staff anytime. And with that said, we'll go to the next item on the agenda. It's the reports to council. Go to city council reports. This is for the council to address what we've been up to. Mr. Green.
Now I can't remember what I was going to report on. Oh, my heck. The Association of Municipal Councils met. We had met since our last meeting. Not much there, except for the fact that we did talk about potential water quality and some of those kind of issues with the county water quality people. It was a pretty interesting session. The nice thing is that I think for the way that we've been involved with the county's flip a strip. I guess if that's what you want to call it, Mayor, the county's flip a strip, whatever they call that. And in fact, we're actually seeing the fruits of that. For those of you that are, as you walk back outside into the parking lot on the west side of this building, you will notice that there are a lot of the park strips that are being ripped up right now. And that is a direct result of our involvement with the county and the county water conservation projects to help eliminate some water usage in those park strips. So it was nice to be part of that meeting and see some of the things that the county was doing, but also know that we're on the front end of that one, receiving money from, from that we're getting some money from the county that directly benefits our property and helps us save water. So it was kind of a good culmination to see that. And so that's my report this week.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else? Comments? Go ahead. Councilmember Shelton, and then, never mind. So rock, paper, scissors for it. Okay, Councilmember Shelton.
I'd just like to report that I have been receiving a number of phone calls from constituents with concerns about park strips on public right-of-way, other concerns about walls. There's just, I've been receiving a lot of phone calls, and it's been a pleasure to work with these individuals and try and resolve concerns. Mayor Burton and I are going to be meeting with some residents tomorrow. Is that correct? Tomorrow morning, to address some of these concerns. And I just like to thank my constituents for reaching out and letting their concerns be known. Because if we don't know the problems, we can't address them. And it's just been a lot of fun and enjoyable for me, even though there are concerns and problems, to be able to address them. We had a park in an HOA that had some sort of valve that needed to be replaced and fixed by the city so that they could water the grass in their park. And had a resident reach out to me. I pointed them in the direction of Mayor Burton, and now they have green grass, or at least they're working on it. So it's been an enjoyable opportunity for me this summer to see those to see the rubber hit the pavement, so to speak, to take care of specific needs within the city.
Thanks. Councilmember Lamb.
Thank you, Chair Jacob. I wanted to thank our street maintenance teams today. They probably don't get the respect they deserve for what they do out there. I have a 16-year-old that's learning how to drive. Scares the crap out of me. And there was a street in my neighborhood that, well, I like to call it an aging street. It's an older neighborhood. Last year, Mayor Burton will know this, we had a main water pipe bust 3 times in 3 different places. That wasn't my street, but it was in my neighborhood, and I wasn't even on the council, and I saw people call me and say, Chad, what can we do to fix this? So I called the mayor. There's other people within the city that I know as well, and they were able to last year go in and replace this pipe, which went from Redwood Road down on Main Street. And if I remember right, the pipe was about 40 years old, if not older. However, once you replace a pipe, that means the whole street is destroyed because they had to tear up the street, put in the pipe, repave the street. And anyway, my goal as a city council member, as a ran for city council last year, was I want to make sure that we're replacing and fixing aging infrastructure, whether it's water pipes, whether it's roads. And the reason I brought up my 16-year-old is because as we drove along the street now, he goes, Dad, this street is so smooth. So not only did they do a great job repairing the street, but they made it smooth. And I think that's what we all want. And I know we can't replace every street in the next year or 2 or 3, but one by one, I know that our city streets maintenance workers are out there repaving, scraping up the old streets in our suburb neighborhoods, not in the main streets. I'm talking in our home neighborhoods. And it might take a while, but I want to say that they're out there working hard in this heat, replacing those roads and doing a great job. And I want to thank Brian and his team, and I want to thank the mayor and all that you guys do on your side to make sure that we're going through and helping out these neighborhoods that do need those new streets and the new water pipes. And we have 2 West Jordans. We have the west side, which is all new, and the east side, which is aging and has to be replaced. So we're doing 2 different things, but I think we're doing a great job on both sides. So thank you.
Thank you. The west side's, by the way, not as new as it used to be.
Your water pipes are newer.
That's true. Only 25 years old. All right. Any other comments from the council? All right. Seeing none, we'll go to council office report. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. The only thing I have for tonight is just I've communicated with each of you about the programming for Western Stampede coming up the end of next week. Also, the parade on the 4th, we will be joined with members of the city council and last year and upcoming attendees and registrants of the West Jordan Youth Council. So we will have you walking. We'll have a supply of candy for you to hand out, and we'll shuttle you back to City Hall after the parade. That's our report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor, your turn.
Thank you for letting me take an opportunity to share some things with you today.
Seems like the mics are really quiet, so get nice and close.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak with you today. And thank you, Council Member Green, for noticing the flip the strips happening. It's a work in process, you could tell. So next council meeting, hopefully it'll be all done. We'll see. But it's making progress. It's not done yet, but they'll be back. But they will not be here during Western Stampede, just so you know. Okay, the picture you're looking at up there, that is over by the new Home Depot at 5600 South and 7800 West. So if you look closely on those pads, you'll see that pad D, I can't tell you what pad D is going to be, sorry. Pad C will be Chipotle and Nothing But Cakes. Those are two of the three things in there. The third one will be a Wingstop. So there'll be those three stores in that one building. Then if you look at pad B, like in Burton, that will be Mobetta's. Pad A, I can't tell you that one yet either. So anyway, we have progress coming. The tenants that are still in negotiations on the other ones, which is the only reason we don't want to say. It's not because we don't know what it's going to be. It's because they don't know it's going to be them yet. And then most of you were at the H Mart grand opening. I've noticed that the parking lot continues to be good and busy over there. So this has been a great thing coming. We met with them when we were in Las Vegas a couple of months ago, and there were lots of other cities who were drooling to get an H Mart in their city. And it's kind of exciting that in Utah, we're the first city to have H Mart. And that's doing well. Some upcoming events, we got our food trucks still happening every Tuesday, including next week. And if the second Tuesday of each month also includes the community markets. So if you want to see some extra things, join us on that week. This Saturday is another exciting dumpster day. So if you've got some extra trash around your neighborhood, talk to your neighbors and have them come over to Public Works and drop off their trash at no charge. And we will assist them in unloading that if they would like some help. And as Alan Anderson mentioned, Western Stampede is coming up next week. Yeehaw! I'm excited about that. I hope you are as well. It'll be the 4th, 5th, and 6th. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there. Lots of activities and events. Of course, the parade is on the 4th, fireworks and drone shows and lots of events going on there. It'll be exciting. And I already talked about the community market. Just so you're aware, on the Independence Day on the 4th of July, city offices will be closed. But most of us will probably be at Western Stampede. That is my report.
Thank you. Mr. Lee, City Administrator.
Speaking of Western Stampede, I've asked Ashley Dupler, our events manager, to come and give you a little bit more of an update on Western Stampede and what you can expect, what things the events team has been working on for this year.
Thank you.
Thank you all for having me. And yeah, we're about a week and a day away, so we are excited, working tirelessly to wrap up those final loopholes. Some exciting updates. Right now, our parade entries closed at 5 p.m. this evening. We had a cap of 90 entries, and we ended at 87. That was up from 69 last year, so a large increase there. I think a lot of that is just getting the news out earlier, working with communications, getting that posted. Sherry, my coworker, sent out to all the last year entries and really did a lot of front end pushing, which we see the results from. Our ticket sales, it's about a 4,800 is a sellout. Right now we're at just about 1,000 away from a sellout for the 4th, and about 3,000 each night sold for the 5th and the 6th. So every time I check, it goes up about 200 tickets. So I expect those numbers to be higher tomorrow morning. This year, we've also added 6 new sponsors to our sponsorships. We've had about $130,000 total. 12 of that is in trade. So like dirt for the arena, hotel rooms, all of that. This is up 16,000 from last year. So again, another nice increase. Props on that to marketing. They helped kind of elevate our sponsor deck that we have, got it professionally printed. And we're again able to get that out earlier, right around January. So as fiscal year started for a lot of businesses, we were able to kind of jump in front end and kind of take advantage of that fresh budget year. So we have all of our chutes full. So all of the bucking chutes, and then our mutton bustin' chute is also sponsored. And we actually had another chute. So we're gonna have the flag running one be dubbed a chute this year as well, because we had such interest in that price point range. So we're looking for new opportunities for next year to kind of increase opportunities in that price range. It seems like a sweet spot. So this is all great news, seeing that we also increased our supporting sponsor total by $500, but no one really hesitated. So feel as though we're giving out a good product with these new sponsors and no one really blinking an eye. In marketing, Monday, we're gonna be on Good Day Utah for the morning show. So we'll go and talk about the parade and everything that is coming up. And then we'll actually have Fox 13 doing some live hits for their morning show on July 5th. So right in the thick of the event, we'll have run a mutton bustin' event, have mayor speaking, kind of sharing our vendor fair, just everything that's going on, highlighting the new drone shows that we'll have on the 5th and the 6th. Parking just continues to be the question of the hour. We have that UTA contract in place. So again, that's anyone with a rodeo ticket, that's a free fare. You can also sign up for the free event, and that also works as a free fare. So if you want to just come to the park for events, you can still ride the tracks for free. And we're really trying to encourage that as we have construction going on, and then also the Jordan School District will have construction. But otherwise, everything's trending upward, and we look forward to a great 3 days of events. So happy to answer any questions now, or give a call or email. And I think you all should have everything for next week.
Any questions for the staff? Yes. Thank you, Ashley.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep. Anything else from staff, Corbin?
That's all tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. Let's see. Next up, we have a Victim Advocates Annual Report to the City. And this will be by Christy Bates from our attorney's office.
Thank you, and for allowing me to come. How do I get my presentation? Yeah.
Push down.
Hey. Thank you. So I just want to kind of give you guys like the bolts and nuts of kind of what our program does. A lot of numbers. So I'm Christy Bates. I'm the Victim Advocate Coordinator. We have 2 other advocates that are in our program. Lonnie Stone is our court advocate, and Maria Grisby is our Spanish-speaking advocate. And then we also have volunteers and interns in our program. Some of the victim services that we do, these are kind of just a rundown of the things that we do for each person that we come in contact with. We go out on scene, we speak with them in person. We help them with any services that they need. We crisis intervention with them, either at their homes or the place that the crime happened, or at a hospital as well. We can transport them wherever they need to go. If they need to go to a shelter or family member's house because they're not safe where they are, we do transportation as well. We provide shelter services for them. We connect them to resources that are in our community and outside of our community. We do court accompaniments. So anytime a victim needs to go to court, needs those assistance, we guide them through that entire process. We do a lot of phone contact, court notifications as well. We help them obtain protective orders for their safety. We do safety plan with them, and we help them obtain U visas if they need. Here's kind of some numbers of the total victims that we served last year. Substantially higher than the year before, and those numbers are bigger because of some things that we have improved in our program. Understanding grant-funded services that we need to provide. We implemented the court advocate, which has substantially risen the victims that we work with. We have a Spanish-speaking advocate that works closely with that community as well, and understanding the different types of victimizations that we do provide to our community. These are some of the crimes that we work with. Physical assault, sexual assault of adults, bullying for children, burglary as long as there's a person that has been injured, child physical and sex abuse, DUIs and DWIs, which is if there's an incident with a victim, elder abuse, hate crimes, human trafficking, sex and labor trafficking, kidnapping, custodial and non-custodial, robbery, same as burglary. As long as there's a person that has been injured, we will work with them. Homicide, so we work with the families of homicide victims. Teen dating violence, protective order violations, mental health. So people in the community that are suffering, we help with their family members as well. Death and suicide. And then those numbers are higher for the same reasons as we have identified more victims and have been able to reach out to them. Assistance provided. So these are the things that we do for each of the individual victims. We provide them information and referrals for things that are in the community. We provide them information about the court process, things like that. Personal advocacy, we meet them wherever they are. So either in the office, at their home, we can meet them at the police department or in emergency situations. We provide emotional support over the phone and in person. We safety plan with them as far as what's happening long-term. Emergency accompaniment, so we go to hospitals, we go to wherever that emergency is happening to provide those resources to them. Shelter housing, so we provide them all the information they need for shelter. We can transport them to shelter if they need. We provide housing resources, so if they need to stay in their place or they need to be relocated, we help with relocation as well. Criminal justice assistance, so we guide them through the entire criminal process, be in justice court or district court or protective order court. We explain the process. We help them understand the language and what's happening with that. We provide the resources to help them get in touch with the prosecutors. So if they have questions, they can do that as well. Crime victim reparations, that's a federally funded program that provides a lot of resources to victims of crime. So we help them do applications for that and be that liaison between them and the CVR company. We do a lot of emails and phone calls. Court notification before and after. So victims have the right to know everything that's going on at court. They don't always understand the process. So we explain to them when their court hearings are, so they can attend those if they want. If they don't, we do provide information after the court hearings so they understand what's happening with their case. And emergency personal needs, that would be things that we can provide, car seats, diapers, food, things like that, that they need, clothes. Blankets, things that they might need in emergency, hygiene packs as well. So expansion in numbers, this is kind of what I talked about a little bit. We've implemented the protocol for the grants so we understand the requirements better, and that has substantially risen our numbers. We have a strong collaboration with law enforcement. We do in-service training with them so they better understand the services that we provide. So we work really closely with them. Partner with service providers in our community and outside our community. We have a strong volunteer and internship program. We are able to compile data a lot better with the program that we have and better understanding the grant requirements. We have a Spanish-speaking advocate that has improved the communication and the needs of our Spanish community. Victim advocates in the court, that's the new program that we implemented that provides a lot more support and services to those that are dealing with the court process. Did you guys have any questions I can answer for you? I know it's a lot of information, so.
Councilmember Lamb.
Thank you, Chair Jacob. My only question was, I'm guessing that these aren't a lot of walk-ins. Most of these are recommended. Who is recommending these people to? Is it from our police department, or where do the recommendations come from to say, hey, go and talk to the victim advocate?
So we get a lot of recommendations from the police department. We do get cases routed to us if we don't get called out by law enforcement. We also get other victims that have worked with us and have come in contact with somebody that needs our services. We do have a lot of walk-ins that do come in and have been referred to us by the courts, have been referred to us by family or friends, or other people that are outside of our community that refers to cases that are within our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for that report.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Always good to stay up on that stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Now is the moment that the rest of you have been waiting for. Just kidding. We have 5 public hearings on the agenda this evening. And during these public hearings, obviously the public will have an opportunity to speak on these specific subjects. The first item on our public hearing list is ordinance 2426, a petition from CW Land Company requesting an update to the master development agreement for Copper Rim Plan Community and approving a major variation to the preliminary development plan. So we'll invite the applicant to come up. Is this Matt Dean?
Hi, it's good
Hi.
to see you all again.
Thanks.
I'm Matt Dean, representing the applicants with CW Land Company. I just want to start by refreshing the city council members on back in October 2023, I presented a density reduction for phase 9. And we presented at that time to the committee of the whole to reduce the density from 204 age-restricted units down to 133 townhomes. And that proposal, even though it wasn't public, it wasn't well received. And I just wanted you to know that we listened. We've included those in this current master plan, and we're going to present to you tonight a much better land plan. So with that, tonight I'd like to present to you 8 key points of our proposed PDP update for Copper Rim for your consideration. First of all, applicant seeks to remove the 204 age-restricted units designation at Copper Rim Phase 9. Simply put, our organization conducted several economic studies for well over a year and a half and found that in every detailed analysis, whether as a for rent or a for sale product, that the age-restricted units just don't work and are infeasible for the following reasons: low rental rates and low for sale prices. The age restriction is not feasible due to only low rental rates, and purchase prices can be realistically achieved for rental or for sale stacked apartment or condominium products at this location. Couple this with high construction costs, the project economics simply do not work and will not be financed by anyone, especially in today's tighter capital and lending environment. Market depth. Further deepening the problem by restricting Phase 9 to a 55+ age-restricted market offering is that this is a very shallow pool of renters and buyers, which results in a terribly slow absorption pace, only further exacerbates the infeasibility of economics and lending, and results in an unfeasible and low-quality project for the developer. Bottom line, even though we tried, an age-restricted units project just does not work. Whether we self-performed an apartment or condominium project or sold the site off to another developer, and our common goal for all of us should be to avoid a failed project in West Jordan. Rather, the removal of the age-restricted units designation allows the developer to offer cottage homes to a wide range of buyers who are seeking a quality single-family detached for-sale product, resulting in market rate price points, greatly improved absorptions, and an economically viable and well-received residential project in West Jordan. Key point number 2, major density reduction for the entire Copper Rim master plan. So just to walk through the chronology a little bit, back in 2018, when the original MDA was approved, it was approved for 753 total units. Then in 2021, there was a first amendment approved for an additional 125 units that got the project up to 878 units. And what we're proposing here today is a density reduction of nearly 150 units to get the project to a density even below the original plan in 2018 for 731 units. And that represents about a 17% density reduction from the 2021 approval. Effectively, density is being reduced to about 4.3 total DU an acre over the entire 200-acre site, down to about 3.5 DU per acre. This major density reduction in of itself represents a sizable developer concession. Key point number 3. This also frees up nearly 150 ERCs of culinary water capacity back to the city. The density reduction makes available an additional 147 ERCs of much needed culinary water for city public use or use on another of the several proposed projects within West Jordan. Key point number 4, increased project open space. Through land plan adjustments and the density reduction, the overall open space percentage has been slightly increased from 18.1% to 18.3% from 2018 to 2024. The key here is that the Copper Rim project will exceed the minimum requirement of 15% open space, now having 18.3% of the project dedicated to open space. Key point number 5, phase boundary line adjustments and minor density shifts for Northern Copper Rim. The majority of phase boundaries for Northern Copper Rim phases 4 through 9, as approved in 2018, simply did not work and would not be approvable at final plat approval stage, as these did not allow for 2 points of access for fire. Oh, okay. Hey, there's the site. Did not allow for 2 points of access for fire, emergency, safety, and necessary looping of water and sewer utilities. In consultation with city planning, engineering, and fire departments over the past 8-9 months, the PDP update corrects this, and now all phases 4 through 9 will have 2 points of road access and utility looping. For example, phase 4, which is the next phase in the queue, it's currently in with the city for consideration. What we decided to do is move the phase 4 boundary line further to the north to create a second point of access to phase 4. It only had one access before. We did a minor density shift, took 12 cottage lots from phase 5, pushed them into phase 4. It's a net zero density shift. Created 2 points of access into phase 4, but then we took it a step further. What we're going to do and what we are doing in phase 4 is building Northern Copper Rim Drive from the existing roundabout all the way to 7,000 South. And then also part of phase 4, we're going to widen 7,000 South, which is an MDA obligation. And all those moves complete the loop. Minor density shifts. The lot widths in the approved 2018 MDA were inconsistently shown in the PDP and preliminary plats and needed to be fixed. Cottage lots were always intended to be 45 foot wide. Preserves were intended to be 70 foot wide. While reducing the planned density, and in order not to lose additional density, we simply needed to make some minor density shifts between the Northern Copper Rim phases in order to accommodate the correct lot widths. Key point number 6, preservation and protection of the historic dry wash. Land plan adjustments were made to the Northern Copper Rim phases to accommodate the historic dry wash and natural open space drainage corridor running north to south through the community. Installation of channel stabilization improvements along the dry wash running through Copper Rim results in the preservation and protection of the historic dry wash. Key point number 7. The PDP update cleans up some inconsistencies shown in the 2018 PDP. For example, as I alluded to earlier, preserve lots are shown as both 70 feet and 72 foot wide in the 2018 PDP, and yet were also reflected in all the 2018 city approved preliminary plats as 70 feet wide. PDP update cleans up this inconsistency with all preserve lots now correctly shown at 70 feet wide. Lastly, key point 8, the 2018 Phase 9 exterior loop road. I don't think we show that. Oh, there you go. Thank you. That's the drawing on the left. Simply is infeasible. Couple reasons for that. Safety and traffic congestion. From that shown within the 2018 PDP we are moving the connection point to 7,000 South further to the east to align with the existing intersection at Tourist Lane, which connects to Ochre Highlands subdivision to the north. Why are we doing that? 7,000 South eventually will be a main arterial when the road is widened and the UDOT bridge over Mountain View corridor is completed, and is likely to experience heavy traffic congestion during peak hours. By moving the loop road connection at 7,000 South to the east, this new connection point prevents an additional intersection on 7,000 South from being too close to the future MVC overpass, which creates much safer vehicular, pedestrian, and bicyclist intersection conditions. Existing topography and steep grades. The steep grades with the entire western half of Phase 9 simply make this portion of the site undevelopable for safe roadways. As shown in the 2018 MDA, the installation of an exterior loop road at this location will require massive cuts, fills, and retaining walls, essentially devastating the site's natural grading. Rather, we propose to cluster and concentrate the density on the site's eastern half in order to minimize the development footprint, which will blend and sit the project more naturally into the existing topography. In conclusion, for all these reasons, we are in alignment with both city staff and planning commission that the PDP update, as recommended for approval, results in positive changes and a much enhanced and better land plan for the current and future residents of the Copper Rim community and West Jordan City as a whole. I look forward to your questions and your support on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the developer prior to the public hearing? All right, I'm seeing none. Let's go give some, a minute to staff here. Ray, McCandless, come on up. Fill in any.
Thank you. I think the applicant did a great job at just explaining what kind of the reasons for the changes to the Copper Rim development plan. It originally started out with just Phase 9 and eliminating the age restricted units up there, but it kind of morphed. And for a lot of reasons, we're glad it did. Because it cleared up some issues with, it was mentioned, dry wash. The plan now has much better connectivity between phases 6 and 9. It shifted. Can you hear? Oh, one mic. Okay. Is that better? All right. And then stereo here. So we just think it's an overall better a better land plan as was mentioned. The changes really kind of affect phases 4 through 9. All the phases that are to the south, phases 1 through 3 have been either approved or being developed now. We're working on phase 4 right now, and that is nearing completion on the review on that. So again, for those reasons, we just think it's a much improved land use plan. And our recommendation is for approval. Planning Commission also recommended approval of these changes. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the staff on this? Okay, we are not beating a path to your door, so go ahead. Thank you for the presentation. And we'll go to the public hearing on this and get input from the public. This is your chance to speak to this update to the master development agreement and the preliminary development plan for Copper Rim. We got to keep all our coppers straight. We got lots of coppers going on in the city. Anybody in the room who would like to speak to this issue? We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. If you'd like to speak, come on up. And if you're online, you're going to need to raise your hand in the Zoom. I'm not seeing any in the room. Mr. Anderson, anybody raising hands online?
Yes, of the 18 participants, a gentleman with the first name of Nate, I do not have a last name, but he has raised his hand.
All right, Nate, you should be able to go ahead and unmute. We'll give you 3 minutes. Give us your last name if you would, just so we can have that on the record.
Sure thing. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my name is Nate Hurst. I'm a Copper Rim resident, and I just wanted to check in. I wanted to first of all thank Mr. Dean. I really appreciate the changes actually from age-restricted units, rentals to being actual cottage lots, and also the lot putting the Copper Rim Road through with Phase 4 is going to be amazing for our neighborhood as well. I really appreciate that. I did, however, have a question for Mr. Dean about further rentals in the Copper Rim development, since we don't know. I mean, I can look at the plat maps and everything all day, and we don't know what's going to be rentals and what's going to be for purchase, because we do have the American Homes for Rent, the rear-loaded cottage lots right now that we have done in the development or rentals. So I was wondering if they're going to continue that or if it's going to be just all for purchase. And I guess I have to finish my whole comment before he could speak. So additional question on that would be, yeah, it's really is whether or not it's rentals. We've just had some issues with American Homes for Rent, and we'd like to see there be less rentals, especially with all of the rental properties going in around us with Park Valley, 217 units, and what I assume will be another version of Park Valley just to the south. There's just a lot of rentals in this area, so we'd like to see more for purchase for multiple reasons. But one of them also being for the buy-in to the HOA, the 1% reinvestment fee that goes in. Our HOA could obviously use the funds. So anyways, that's all I had to ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else online, Mr. Anderson, who would like to address the council?
No one else has raised their hand.
All right, and we'll give one more. Anybody in the room? Doesn't look like it. So go ahead and close the public hearing and bring this back to the council. We'd like to give the applicant just a quick second to respond to the question, if you caught that. Brought up by the public. Oh, I got you. I got you right. There you go.
Oh, great. Thank you. The answer to the question is we don't know. We are in discussions with a wide range of different builders, both public and private builders, and don't know if American Homes for Rent is going to be part of that and whether they get a segment moving forward or not. So all I have to say is we're in discussions with probably about 6 different builders, none under contract with any. I would also extend that the vast majority of them are for sale, not for rent type builders, if that provides any level of comfort for the public.
Excellent. Thank you. I'll bring this up to the council. Councilmember Shelton.
Just a comment for the applicant. Thank you for your work on this plan. I appreciate the lower density, and you outlined excellent reasons to change it. I am in favor of this change. I would like to reiterate the concern raised by the resident out there in Copper Rim about the rental. We want to encourage as much owner-occupied units as possible in this and all throughout the city. That's something that we would like to encourage and hope that we can get that. And I'm glad to hear that the majority will be owner-occupied. Thank you.
Councilmember Green.
Ray, maybe you can answer this question. All the new lots, these cottage lots that we're adding, what's the size lot? What's the size of those lots?
Got you.
Thanks. They typically measure the 45 by 120.
So they're a
The contract.
4,500 square foot lot,
Yeah.
give or take.
And that's the smallest.
Okay. So The reason why I asked that question is, you know, it wasn't too long ago that a particular political leader, we won't mention that it was the governor, stood up and said, we need smaller lots so that we can have more starter homes and those kind of things across the state. And I just wanted to make sure that we were on record that we are doing our fair share of doing those kinds of lots to help meet that particular segment of the housing market, and that we're not being the obstructionists in this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bador.
Yeah, I just wanted to check for the applicant. I was looking at the extra parking, and I was trying to find a number, and I thought I'd found it once before, but then I couldn't find it again. Number of additional parking for those that look at using the open space and those who are going to be guests of the people staying in the townhomes. What is the breakdown of that? Do you have those numbers?
I don't. They're in the PDP update. But
Yeah.
how it works is every townhome attached unit has to have two. I'm sorry. It's 0.25 parking spaces per 4 townhomes for guest. And then guest for detached will park in the driveway space. So you get 2 spaces for guests in the driveway, 1 space per 4 townhome. The PDP does not require, never did, guest parking spaces for open space.
Okay. I was just saying, I was trying to count with the little map that I had here and trying to make sure, see what, but if you're, I just wanted to get that number that you had broken down. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councilmember Whitelock has her hand up. Go ahead, Councilmember Whitelock.
Thank you, Chair. I want to say that I agreed with Councilmember Shelton, and I want to further ask a question because when you tell me that these are for purchase, does that mean that a company can come in and purchase these homes, or is it that these homes are going to be for purchase by individual families? I want to know that. And then the other thing that I'm curious about on the dry wash, will that be taken care of by the HOA? Because we get a fair amount of complaints about areas like that with native grasses that are felt to be weeds that are not taken care of. So I'd like to know those 2 things. I appreciate that you've done work on senior housing overlays. I'm a little frustrated that we had so many coming in for those and now so many coming in and saying they're just not going to work. I totally understand it. I didn't think it was super to begin with. So if you could answer those 2 questions for me, I'd appreciate it.
All right, staff or applicant, go ahead.
Happy to take it. Okay, so the PDP right now does not say the end buyer who that entity can be, whether it's a individual or a family or a company. However, I will say that home builders buy lots from us. They'll buy a group of lots, call it 40 lots, whatever it is. Their goal is to sell those homes that they build to actual buyers, because if they sold it to another company, it would create instant competition for themselves. So why would they do that? But there's nothing in the PDP that states that home builder can sell to pretty much anybody they want. The second comment I would say is the dry wash. The dry wash is intended to be maintained as a common open space amenity by the master HOA, very similar to the dry wash portion that's already been constructed in phase 1. That is a common space relevant to Copper Rim that's included for maintenance and operations in the Copper Rim Master Association.
Thank you. Perfect. Any further comments or questions or motions? Councilmember Green.
I was just going to add, thank you for listening. I too, I think we've been through we've seen this several times over the last couple of years with the senior housing overlay and how things have shifted in the market. And I'm glad we're at a point where we can fix this one without a lot of issues. So thank you for your work. And yes, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Shelton,
I'd like to make a motion.
go ahead.
I move to approve ordinance number 24-26, a petition from CW Land Co. Matt Dean requesting an update to the master development agreement for Copper Rim Planned Community and approving a major variation to the council approved 2018 Copper Rim Preliminary Development Plan located at approximately 7516 South Copper Rim Drive.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Shelton and a second from Councilmember Green. Discussion to the motion. Anyone? I'll just go ahead and chime in and say I appreciate this as well. This is thank you for listening is very apt, right? That's a very, very good good summary. This is an improvement. I mean, I've been following this project for almost 10 years now, and it's been kind of fun to watch it grow and change and morph and develop. And some of the changes that are proposed have been good and some haven't been, and this is a good one. This change is going to positively affect both, you know, the city that's already here, those that live in the development already, and those who live on the other side of the development that's actually not even in West Jordan. So we appreciate that very much. So I'll be in favor. Yeah, not yet anyway. Any further discussion to the motion? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and vote.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom,
Yes.
Chair Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Bador.
Yes.
Thank you. I show that motion passes 7-0.
All right, thank you. We look forward to the continual development and growth in our city. Resolution 2427. This is the next item up for bid, stating the compensation increase for local government officers as opposed to elected officials, as proposed in the annual budget for fiscal year 2025. And let's go to Denise.
Thank you, Council. Resolution 2427 was initiated by some changes in the state legislature in the 2024 session. They adopted Senate Bill 91, which required the disclosure of any increases to local government officers, and they defined what those were as department heads or managers over divisions or departments, as well as deputy departments and division heads. So we have done so and disclosed that, and so we present to you Resolution 2427 with the increases, the percentage of increase of the compensation for all the officers listed that are proposed in the budget for fiscal year 2025.
Any questions for staff before the public hearing? All right, not seeing any questions. So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anybody who'd like to address the council on this, it's the same procedures as the last ones. If you're in the room, come on up. We'll call it open. Mr. McConaughey.
Thank you, Chris McConaughey, West Jordan resident. I will not use the full 3 minutes this time. I just want to say that I very much appreciate all that our staff does. The amount that's been proposed, I feel, is incredibly conservative. Definitely, I would have been supportive of something a little bit more, but I would highly encourage all of you to support this one. Thank you again to staff for all that they do. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Anybody else in the room who'd like to address the council? Mr. Bennett, come on down.
Rob Bennett, West Jordan resident. I've attended a number of meetings by our elected and appointed officials where they have made it clear that West Jordan is going to be playing with the big boys now. That we're going to be living up to our reputation as the third largest city in the state, and that we are going to be putting forth our efforts to make sure that West Jordan is one of the best places to live in the state of Utah. I kind of feel that it's a little bit like the NBA or the NFL draft. We're assembling teams that are at the top of their game, and our employees, as well as our elected officials, are taking those positions and running with them so that we can have a championship season. And I'm so proud to be able to live in a city where there's so much responsibility that's taking place. I wanted to bring to your attention a single position on the team. As I was looking through the primary job responsibilities, I noticed that the city recorder was listed as a little bit less than judge, mayor, city engineer, and treasurer as far as the primary positions go. And I just did a really quick search and found that in the state of Utah, Moab has the highest rate of pay for their city recorder at $138,000 per year. We're paying significantly less than that. In the state of Utah, we're actually 44 out of 50 states for what we pay our city recorders. I've had a lot of personal experience through my years as a resident and as a former city council member. And the responsibilities that are taken on by that position are enormous. And they strike through every single facet of what the city of West Jordan does. And I would just like to encourage human resources, the mayor's office, to just take a look at that position and see if there's not something else that we could do to continue to encourage the best people possible to continue to come to our city and build this championship team that we're all using to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Still public hearing, so let's give it just one more second. Anybody else who'd like to address the council on this? Anybody online, Mr. Anderson?
There are 10 individuals online, none of which have raised their hand.
Perfect, thank you. So we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for discussion, questions, comments, and a motion. Mr. Shelton, do you want to?
Oh, just to follow up on Mr. Bennett's comment, I believe that our city recorder received an award for the best city recorder in the state of Utah as well. Yeah, so I agree with his thoughts and feelings on that.
Any further discussion? Mr. Green.
I'm just going to make a comment. Thank you, Utah legislature, for making us do this, because I don't know what they expect the council in our form of government to do, because this belongs, the pay rates really belong to the mayor and HR, and we just approve a budget. And I can't for the life of me figure out how this increases the transparency, but we'll leave it at that and tell the legislature, thank you for adding another requirement to our budget sessions.
Well said. Councilmember Lamb.
I move to approve resolution number 24-027, stating the compensation increase for local government officers as proposed in the annual budget for fiscal year 2025.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Lamb, seconded by Councilmember Shelton. Discussion to the motion. Saying none, let's roll call vote.
Chair Jacob.
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock.
Yes.
Councilmember Green.
Yes.
Vice Chair Lamb.
Yes.
Councilmember Bador.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom.
Yes.
Thank you. I show that motion passes 7-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the next similar type of resolution. This is resolution 24-20, ordinance, excuse me, 24-25. It's more official that way. Fixing the compensation for elected and statutory officers of the city. Ms. Steck.
Yes, this legislation was written very interestingly because it specifically calls out this section in section 1 as being required under ordinance, and the secondary section does not require ordinance, so we go with the resolution. Very interesting. This again is also the result of Senate Bill 91 from the 2024 general session, and it amended Utah State Code 10.3.818. Requiring us to hold a public hearing to fix the compensation for elected and statutory officers. So we have listed that on the resolution as Exhibit 1 and would propose that the council adopt them as they are or have a discussion regarding them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lamb.
Quick question, Denise. The resolution was stating the compensation. The ordinance is fixing. What are we fixing?
If it ain't broke. So Councilmember, excuse me, Denise, go ahead.
I am following the language that is in the code, and it states that the governing body fixes by ordinance adopted compensation and compensation schedule.
So it's just another word for stating.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or setting.
Well, if you ask me.
I'm glad we fixed that.
I'm glad you fixed it too.
Well, we haven't fixed it yet. We got to vote on this. Any other questions for staff? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and go to the public hearing on this. If you're in the room and would like to address the council, I'll talk slow so you have plenty of time to come up. I'll go ahead and open the public comment. Same rules and procedures apply. Mr. McConaughey.
Thank you. Chris McConaughey, West Jordan resident. For those who may not have the document in front of them, I do want to read 2 lines, row 13. No compensation increase has been included in the budget for city council. And line 27, no compensation increase has been included in the annual budget for the mayor. I'm not going to speak for or against this one, rather just share a couple thoughts. Number one, it is incredibly hard for you to vote on an increase in compensation for yourself. So I'm glad to see that that's not really on the table. On the flip side, it could be seen that, well, we're keeping the rates artificially low to discourage other people from challenging you to your seats. You can't win either way. So my recommendation would be for the council to consider a process wherein there's a committee that's not part of the city, determines and makes a proposal as to what compensation for elected officials should be. The council can review their proposal and vote for or against. That way it doesn't look like there's any direct change to compensation coming from you that hasn't been proposed by the public rather than staff or the council. The other thought that I would share is there are some members of the council that are paid that are compensated nearly double what others are because of the value of the insurance portion of the benefit. I would suggest consideration of a potential restructure of compensation to have it a total compensation amount, and then council members can determine if they want to bring that compensation directly to them or if they want to use that for the insurance benefits. But knowing the time and effort and everything that goes into it, it's really not fair for some people to be compensated nearly double what the others are when you're all supposed to be doing the same work. So having a compensation structure that allows you to decide how that compensation makes its way to you, whether it's through cash or whether it's through insurance or something like that, I think would be more fair than what we have today. But again, I appreciate all that you do, and we'll leave you with those thoughts. Thank you.
All right, anybody else who'd like to address the council on this one? Come on down. Somehow I knew you two would be the ones who would want to speak.
Yeah, I'll be even shorter than Mr. McConaughey. As he was speaking, I was thinking, would it be possible for that kind of a committee or recommendation organization to make a recommendation to the council that is approved by the council that takes effect after the next election cycle? That way it would allow the public to have confidence in their elected officials not enriching themselves, but also would allow the hard work and effort that's putting forth by all of our elected officials to be able to be appropriately compensated to you're taking time away from your families, your work, all your life. There's so many things that you sacrifice in order to be here. So I think that it would be reasonable to consider an opportunity like that you could actually make a difference in the overall compensation package of the city council without it appearing like you're doing it for yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. In harmony with the 27th Amendment. Anybody else who'd like to address the council on this? Is there any online, Mr. Anderson?
Of the 10 individuals online, none have raised their hand.
Thank you very much. Seeing none others in the room, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing on this and bring this to the council for discussion or a motion. Councilmember Green.
I'm going to move to approve ordinance number 24-25.
Second.
All right, motion by Councilmember Green, seconded by Councilmember Shelton. Any discussion to the motion? By the way, we do have a pending RCA on this topic coming up in 6 weeks or so. All right, seeing no further discussion to the motion, we'll go ahead and vote.
Vice Chair Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Bador,
Yes.
Chair Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Councilmember Green.
Yes.
Thank you. I show that motion passes 7-0.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Our next public hearing is resolution 5D on the agenda for those that are keeping track. Resolution 24-026, authorizing the transfer of money from the enterprise fund to other city funds, not others cities funds, still the city, other city funds in fiscal year 25. And we'll go to Ms. Steck again.
There are requirements of the statute that supports it. So we'll need to go through a PowerPoint presentation similar to what you've seen for the last several years, but with updated numbers. So the authority to transfer is referenced in Utah State Code 10.6.135.5. It has certain noticing requirements, which we have met and are doing that fourth one. They're under the noticing, holding a public hearing at this point. The public hearing requirements, again, we have also met that it has to be separate and independent of other public hearings, which we just opened a new one. We need to explain the intended transfer, provide accounting data, which is everybody's most exciting topic, and then allow for comment. Next slide. Is this just a tax? Yes, this is similar to what we would call a franchise tax for every other utility that customers have. On your electric bill, you'll see that there's a 6% energy franchise tax on your gas bill, the same way on your cable bill, on telecom bills. That franchise tax is an amount paid to the city for the use of the city's property to provide a service. So in essence, it's renting the city's space for a business. The water, sewer, and stormwater and streetlight utilities are all considered businesses, just like the power company, and all of that infrastructure is in property that is owned by the city and not by the utility. Next slide.
Question.
Yes.
Can you go back to that?
Sure.
I thought we eliminated, maybe I missed something. Didn't we eliminate the streetlight utility transfer last year?
Mm-mm.
I don't know, maybe we just had that discussion.
We did.
Okay.
Will this transfer happen every year? That's the intention. If this transfer were to go away in any year, we would need to increase property taxes to rebalance the general fund revenue. And this year it would be an additional 13% property tax increase if you were to remove the transfer. Next slide. The financial impact, you'll see that the column on the left with the transfer, our current property tax is 19.2. We've got new growth of 827,000, which is double what we thought it was going to be. We are proposing a 3.5% property tax increase. And then the transfers in bring in about $2.5 million to the general fund. And then we have other revenue like sales tax and charges for services, utility, franchise tax, those kinds of things. So we have a total revenue of $74 million in the general fund. That's needed to balance the budget overall. We have a small transfer to the CIP of about $95,000, I think. If we did not have the transfer, we would fill that bucket, so to speak, of that $2.5 million into a tax increase, which would be $16.6 million. And you'll see what those transfer amounts there on the far right. Next slide. Okay, this is the accounting data for the water fund. You can see that on each of the slides that are coming up, they're all going to be in the same format. We'll give you the operational cost and revenues, and then our capital costs and revenues, and then the beginning and ending reserve balances for that fund. You can see that this transfer to the general fund is making up about 4% of the total expenses of the fund. Next slide. This is our sewer fund. You can see that the majority of our sewer fees are going to sewer treatment at 41%. Operations are at 23%. And then another 28% is also going to South Valley Water. So they get a total of 69% of our total sewer utility fee is directly going to our vendor for sewer treatment. 4% is being transferred to the general fund, and then operations, like I said, take up about a quarter of it. And you'll see that the transfer on this one is $828,000. Next slide. This is the stormwater fund. The transfer is making up 3% of expense on this. How we calculate our transfers to the general fund is off of revenue, but the state code requires that we disclose the percentage of expense. We don't use expense because expense fluctuates with your capital projects pretty considerably. And so that would mean that you're moving that a lot. What we do is we base it only on the utility sale, and it's 5%. Again, you can see that improvements in the stormwater fund right now are our largest cost, and operations are about 45%. Next slide. And this is the streetlight fund. So operations are the majority of the streetlight utility, and then 4% of the expense is a transfer to the general fund. But again, it's based on revenues. So you'll see $66,900 is being transferred from the streetlight fund to the general fund. Next slide. We're required to disclose to you the difference between the transfer and what we would call administrative cost allocation. So a lot of times in the budget, we called it indirect cost because it's an allocation based on a percentage, and it's our best estimate for the service that's provided to the utility. The transfer out is calculated at 5% of revenue of each utility, and it's only the regular utility revenue, not anything that would be fluctuating. Well, water use fluctuates, but it's only 5% of water sales only, not like reconnection fees or anything else. Franchise or use tax of other utilities that use city-owned space to deliver their services pay 6% of the use of that space, and the budget is $2.5 million, contributing about 3.4% of the general fund revenue, which is pretty significant. The administrative cost allocation is services provided by departments that are paid for out of the general fund, but provide services to the utilities. And so then therefore the utilities bear the burden of that cost. That would be for like the council's time, it would be the city manager's time, it would be engineering, it would be my department, it would be, there's lots of departments that support these utilities, and their costs are allocated out based on the amount of time that is estimated they spend on the utility. It's based on the actual cost of the administration. It pays for centralized administration and services like IT, human resources, those kinds of things. And that portion of the budget is $3.86 million. So the utilities pay the combined piece of both of these. Next slide. These are what we would call the indirect costs or the cost allocations. So you can see that the council, 25% of the council's total cost is allocated out to the utilities, 15% to water, 3.75% to sewer, 2.5% to solid waste, which in a couple of years, when you talk about that a lot, it will probably go up. And then 3.75% for the stormwater fund. We change these estimates every year. It does make it difficult on the general fund because there are years where those projects aren't needing as much engineering, or they might not need as much support administratively, or those kinds of things. So they are reevaluated regularly, and that cost does shift between the utility and the general fund on a regular basis or an annual basis. Next slide. All right, our allocated costs, as you can see, is $3.6 million to the water fund, $1.3 million to the sewer fund, $751,000 for the solid waste fund, and $1.3 million to the stormwater fund, for a total of $7.1 million. And that's the combined of both. Next. All right, that's what we're required to disclose to the public during this public hearing. But we're always very transparent and open to talking to the public about anything regarding this utility transfer. So we'll leave the rest of the time to the council and public comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff before we open the public hearing? Excellent. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anybody who'd like to address the council in the room who'd like to speak to this issue? Go ahead and come on up. I know. Anybody online, Mr. Anderson, with a hand raised?
Yes, of the 10 individuals online, Mr. McConaughey has his hand raised.
Mr. McConaughey, who is no longer in the room, something tells me he's at Apollo Burger. Just kidding. Go ahead, Chris. You should be able to unmute. You got 3 minutes. Maybe.
All right, now can you hear me?
There you are. Go ahead.
Sadly, I'm not at Apollo. I'm heading home to tuck in toddlers so I don't get grounded from attending city council in person. But on this one, I did want to say, not a fan of the utility transfer. I would rather see offset and pay an increased property tax than see funds that move from utilities over to the general fund. I do understand the logic behind it. I do understand the thought that this helps widen the base so that all who are receiving some of the benefits of utilities that may not be taxable entities, they can also contribute, so they're not being fully subsidized by those who are taxable. But just personally, I don't agree with the concept, and I would prefer that we not have the utility transfer. But that's just me. So want to share my 2 thoughts or my 2 cents on that thought. And again, I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? We'll go to in the room. One more chance. Anybody else would like to address the council? All right, seeing none, we'll bring this back for discussion and a motion. Go ahead, Mr. Councilmember Lamb.
Thank you, Chair Jacob. I'm not sure if this is year 5 or 6 that I am giving this speech, but I will give it again. Let me start 6 years ago. I was elected to the city council as an at-large candidate. And one of our first issues that we came up with was there was not enough money in the water fund. We had to do a substantial increase. And while it did pass, there were some on the council that did not agree with it, saying that, well, I don't think we need this. However, if that had not passed 6 years ago, we would not have the money today to not only pay for what's in our enterprise funds, but we also would not have that money to transfer and that's what we're asking today. When this first came up, the enterprise transfers did not exist in West Jordan. It first came up in 2020 as an idea to help pay for things once COVID hit. We did not know what our revenue was going to be. Was COVID going to kill us? Was COVID going to make it so that we wouldn't have enough money in our enterprise funds or in our budgets? We didn't really know. So it was an opportunity, and I know that it was presented to us that other cities do this, that it is something that it helps out the regular budget. However, I did not realize when I made that vote on that for the first time that it was going to go on forever. And that is where I come to today is I do not think this should be a forever transfer, and that we as a city first, and that starts with the mayor and his staff and the city council, we need to find a way to get out of this. I will speak to you not only as a city council member that has been elected to be up here and speak today, but also as a citizen that gets a bill monthly from West Jordan for my water, sewer, et cetera. When I first got on the council, I was told that Enterprise funds are for enterprise funds. If you put money into water, it goes to water. If you put money into sewer, it goes into sewer. I had no idea that we could transfer money out, which is fine. I believe if we need to transfer money and we can, we should. However, later today, we are going to be establishing our new water and sewer rates, and they are going to go up. So in order to cover costs for water and sewer, we are going to need to raise rates, which also means that we are raising rates so that we can cover the transfer as well. So once again, I think that we as a city, city council, the mayor, the city staff, need to find a way to move away from this. And I know I've seen many ways of why we do this, and there's been many wordsmithing of why we can do it and why we should do it and how it works. But I will probably be against this my whole time on the council and as a city and as a citizen of West Jordan, and I will be voting no on this tonight.
Councilmember Green.
So I'm just going to say 6 years ago is water under the bridge. I couldn't resist that, Chad. Sorry.
Which bridge?
Stormwater or culinary?
Yes, it's water under the bridge. Whatever water is going under the bridge, it's water, stormwater, sewer, it's all going under the bridge. I agree with you, but the only way that we're going to solve that problem is to eliminate $2.5 million out of the city budget. If we want to sit down and have a hard discussion about eliminating $2.5 million out of the city budget, let's do that. Because I'm willing to have that hard discussion about where we cut $2.5 million from the city budget. Until we have that discussion, I am not going to vote to increase property taxes by 13% and narrow the base of the taxpayer to impose a greater, because if we go to a property tax increase to cover the 2.5 million in enterprise fund transfer, we create a smaller tax base and increase the burden on the property tax owner substantially. We don't have, if we held the budget and we didn't use, we could have, I will just be honest with you, if we had $800,000 in new growth this year. And if we would have just diverted $800,000 to new growth, straight to the budget and not had it sucked up by other things, we could have reduced the enterprise fund transfer by $800,000. And if we did that over 3 years, guess what? We would do that. But we're not holding the line on the budget. And so the budget's growing with inflation and some of those kind of things. And so until we can decide some other policy discussions and have those hard discussions about where new growth money or property tax increase and have those discussions, we need the 2.5 million in the budget. That's just the way it is. And so, and I'm not comfortable increasing a resident's property tax by 13% when we have a broader base tax that more people than just the property owners are paying taxes. And I've sat up here for what, this is my fifth budget season. I think this is my fifth budget season. If you do 6, do you get one free or something? Buy 6, get one free. I don't know. This is my fifth budget season. And one of my goals has always been to have low taxes and fair taxes. That's why we eliminated we worked hard to eliminate the enterprise fund on the solid waste because it wasn't fair to a lot of, and in fact, it increased the burden of taxes on a smaller group of people than when we shifted that back to property tax. So, that's always been my goal is a good set of property, is a fair tax. Right now, this is the fairest thing we have until we have that discussion to either the whole for something or raise property taxes or figure out a new source of revenue that the legislature won't ding us on, until we have that, I think we need to do that. So I will be a yes on this, at least for that part of the budget.
Councilmember Shelton.
Thank you. I appreciate the comments from, remind me his name. Oh, Chris McConaughey, and also from Councilmember Lamb. I would, quite honestly, I'd like to have more in-depth conversation with both of them regarding their opinions on this. I'm currently a yes vote for this, and I'll tell you the reason why. So we have non-taxable entities in our city, such as schools, churches, and I believe also the airport is non-taxable. These enterprise transfers are the only way we can collect any sort of compensation for the services that the city provides to these entities. And it helps to spread out that burden from the homeowners and people in this city who are burdened with property tax. So I'm currently a yes vote, but perhaps in future years we can turn that around, because it is kind of an ugly, shifty way to collect tax.
Thank you. Any further comments besides mine?
I have my hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Councilmember Whitelock.
Thank you. So I will say that I have supported this, and I still support it for actually the reasons that Councilmember Shelton mentioned. We have close to 25% of our property that they do not pay property tax, but they do use our fire, our police, our roads. And also when I get a utility bill from my gas bill or my light bill, my phone bill, my internet bill, they all have those taxes that go to the city. So I don't feel that it's a sneaky tax or anything else. I think it's a straightforward, it's what that enterprise fund, which is a separate fund, pays to the city just like all of my other utilities do. And I favor it because I feel it's more equitable to the residents that are living in their homes. So I was fine with it to begin with. I am fine with it now. And I believe that having a more stable taxing system that that broadens the base is good tax policy. So I will be voting for.
All right, thank you. I'll just go ahead and chime in with a last comment. It's great. Everybody who's commented is right. You're right. You're right. Councilmember Shelton's right. Councilmember Whitelock's right. It's just a difference in philosophy, and it's just a philosophy question as to who should be paying what. And really, when it comes right down to it, the individuals that pay the tax, because really individuals pay all the taxes, right? Even taxes among and between corporations are paid by individuals because it gets passed on to a consumer at some point. The individual who pays the tax are essentially the same people. So it's just two different ways of doing it, but I'll be in favor. I've been in favor for 4 out of the last 5 years we've done this. I wasn't a big fan the first time, but the more I've thought about it, the more it's grown on me. So there we go. Any further questions? I don't think we have a motion on the table yet, so we'll need a motion. Councilmember Shelton.
I move to approve resolution number 24-026, authorizing the transfer of monies from enterprise funds to other city funds in FY fiscal year 2025.
Second.
All right, motion by Councilmember Shelton, seconded by Councilmember Bador. Discussion to the motion specifically? Seeing none, so we'll go ahead and roll call vote.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lamb,
No.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Bador,
Yes.
Chair Jacob.
Yes.
Thank you. I show that motion passes 6-1.
Wonderful. Let's see. And now we are down to our last public hearing item. This is public hearing 5E, ordinance 24-28, amending the city's city's annual budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. Denise, thanks.
The fiscal year 2024 budget. It's our last shot to do that. They're mostly minor recommendations. A lot of time, well, not a lot of times, we do not budget for interest earnings, and our interest earnings have done well this year. And so those are included in here, as well as some small adjustments to other departments. I tried to give you explanations for each of those adjustments, but in the general fund, we're asking to amend the budget. We're bringing to a balanced amendment. So we are increasing revenue at the same level as we're asking to increase the expenditures. I'd like to address one of them particularly, and that is the vehicle reserve for inflation and a fire engine. We have seen the fleet management fund for the last 2 years. While we funded it for the needs of that current year, we did not fund it in full for some of the large purchases that are coming up in the next 2 years. And so as I've evaluated it, I feel like we need to bring that reserve up slightly to address those inflationary factors. In addition to bringing that reserve up, we're also meeting over the next 3 months with the fleet manager department and the public works department to evaluate our vehicle replacement plan, the appropriateness of the vehicles that are being replaced, and also our resale value on those vehicles. So I want to assure you, as I'm asking for $1.5 million to be transferred to the fleet fund, that we will be meeting and evaluating to make sure that we are being very good stewards of our tax dollars together as we replace that fleet. We do have a fire engine that is going to be ordered. It will take about 1 year or 2 to build, and so we won't need these reserves for the next 2 years, but I would like to have them now that we have one-time money from these encroachment fees, that I can dedicate them towards a source that I know we will need in the next year or 2. The other thing is we've had quite a few, actually more than we've ever had, senior staff retire or be recruited for opportunities of promotion. A lot of them are in public safety. And so we have seen leave buyouts. Now, these aren't golden parachutes. They are leave that they have on the books that they haven't used over their career that we pay out upon retirement. This year, it has been almost $750,000. That's because of those senior staff members who have a lot of leave and a lot of years with the city that they served. So I'm needing to increase the leave buyout by about $300,000 in the benefits management fund. And then the final one that I'd like to speak with you with is, many of you know, in 2020, and it was like 4 months after I was joined the city and about 9 months after Mr. Lee joined the city, we had the opportunity to work with Amazon, or Project Lone Star was what it was called then, right? And the council approved an incentive payment to Project Lone Star to assist in their infrastructure that they put on site and then was dedicated to the city. So this money went to them for infrastructure that they then dedicated back to us. But it was $1.5 million. At the time, we were under the understanding that the redevelopment agency would be able to take on that incentive payment, that it was an active area. That was not something that had been researched by myself, to be candid, or Mr. Lee at the time. And we gave Amazon the incentive payment. That redevelopment agency was not an active area. It did not have an approved budget, and it did not have taxing entities that had signed agreements with the city to provide the opportunity to initiate tax increment. We anticipate this area to go back to the negotiation table as a redevelopment area or an EDA, economic development area. As we continue to see growth in that area, we want to partner with the county and with other taxing entities to incentivize the right growth in this area. However, this incentive occurred 5 years ago, and it is unlikely that we would be able to recover it from tax increment collected in the future. I will not say, because Mr. Lee is very hopeful, and he's looking at me over there with that face. He's very hopeful that we could negotiate to recover this incentive from that area. I am probably more pessimistic, having sat on some of these committees. So while we disagree, we have agreed to discuss this with the council and bring it to you. And let me just say mutually disagreed agreeably for this $1.17 million. I would prefer that as we have the funds currently as one-time revenue, that we dedicate it to the payoff of that incentive and start that EDA area with no black hole. Mr. Lee would prefer that we would keep it here and evaluate as we continue forward over the next year or two as we work on that EDA. Council, this is completely up to you, and I either way, whatever you decide is just fine. If you decide not transfer this to the RDA, then it will just go to fund balance or to our CIP fund. So either way, it's a good thing that we have $1.5 million of extra revenue in the general fund, but it would be up to you how you want to utilize those funds.
The $1.5 million of extra money's like congressional ethics. It's an oxymoron, but we won't go there.
Yes.
That at 1.5 million, is that just like sales tax revenue?
It would be sales tax revenue in this particular budget amendment, but quite honestly, it could be salary savings. Like there's all kinds of ways that additional revenue comes back into the general fund.
Okay.
But it would be what I would consider one-time revenue and not ongoing revenue.
So it's one-time revenue above and beyond what we budgeted for this fiscal year.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. So I will leave that for you for discussion in a moment, but just wanted to outline a few other things. We're bringing Class C road funds. We did receive more in our allotment, which is shocking. I'm so happy about that. Than we had budgeted, as well as interest income. In the Development Services Fund, we have always been super conservative because we don't want to count on permits unless they come in. So we use an average, and then we're really grateful when we get additional permit fees. So we have $1.2 million of additional permit fees in excess of what we budgeted this year. That will help keep that Development Services Fund a little bit out of the hole, not all the way, but a little bit. The Highlands Special District, it's interest income or earnings. I accidentally typed expense. They're both E words. So we have interest earnings. The Craft Made Special District, again, that's about $1 million that is sitting over in the area similar to Amazon that we'll be using for improvements in that area. We're letting it sit there and grow in interest. It's got $50,000 of interest earnings there. The capital projects funds, impact fees are really tough for us to figure out, right? They're like, I either get it or I don't get it. So we got additional road impact fees and park impact fees, and not as much as I anticipated in police and fire impact fees. So we're adjusting those budgets. And then just some small increases for land acquisition trustee fees and some studies that we did in the capital projects fund. We had additional grants come in that we don't usually budget for. We do those at year end. So we're asking for permission to receive and spend those grants. We got additional water sales. This would not be for water sales that were high. I got this question from Mr. Lee. We're not from this summer so far. We've had lower than usual water sales because we've had such a light weather watering season so far. But these were from July and August of last year where we kind of had a really hot season, and it went on for quite a while. So went into October. So we do have additional revenue in the water fund for that. A slight increase in the purchase of our water. Additional sewer fees. Again, sewer fees are based on water use. And so it's from that. Some UDOT reimbursements. We're asking for that. A reduction in the sewer treatment plant cost, which is due to some underspending in their operations. We're amending the solid waste fund. We're reducing our collection fees and our dumpster rentals, and also reducing our landfill cost and our dumpster costs. So I went a little ahead of when we changed our fee schedule, and I'm pulling that back a little bit. Stormwater fund, just interest earnings and indirect costs. Streetlight fund, we're reducing. We're not collecting as much as we anticipated. I also want to bring to your attention in the streetlight fund that we're reducing the streetlight power budget. That is the direct result of that LED replacement project. We are seeing the streetlight power bill come down, and I'm really grateful for that project and the funding that you provided for that. The fleet management fund, receiving that $1.5 million, but not spending it yet. IT management, just interest. Our benefit management fund, bringing in that leave buyout money from the general fund. And then risk management, just doing interest earnings and reducing our professional services. They had budgeted for some software, which they decided that they were not going to purchase at this time. So we're giving that budget back into the risk management fund. I know that was kind of quick, but I believe that I provided you with the detail that you needed to evaluate the budget amendment. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Councilmember Green.
So one of the things that we have to decide tonight is the 1.5 million Amazon, either if we'll have the discussion here in a minute to decide whether that gets paid to the redevelopment, because it came out of redevelopment funds, right?
It did.
And so what you're proposing is to reimburse the redevelopment agency the 1.5 million and from the general fund with one-time monies and start everything even out in the southwest quadrant in that Amazon area.
Correct.
So that's what so when we make the motion tonight, do we have to make a specific, we're going to have to make a specific reference to how we want to do that, right?
You would either adopt it as is, so you could adopt the ordinance as is proposed if you decide that you want to spend that $1.5 million to wipe the slate clean in that area. If you do not, then you would adopt the ordinance, amending it and rediverting that $1.5 million to reserves or transfer to the CIP.
So if we adopt the ordinance as is, it'll be the one that wipes the slate clean, reimburses the RDA, and we start over.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any further questions? Councilmember Shelton.
I'd like to hear Mr. Lee's thoughts on the other side of the coin on that issue.
Thank you. So the debate about the $1.5 million for the Amazon to the incentive to the RDA. You have the money now. It's a good year for one-time money. So you have the opportunity to wipe that debt from the RDA and start the area clean. However, there's no pressing need to do that. Keeping the money in the general fund or in CIP keeps the money fungible and flexible. The downside is you pay a little more interest over the next years. You carry it, but you also carry the possibility that either you negotiate with a TIF agreement, or if we do inland port or whatever, there's a possibility that you can get TIF money or other funds to wipe that incentive clean rather than the general fund. And if those don't come to fruition, then you can pay it with general fund money a year or 2 years from now. So that's the trade-off. It's a fair trade-off either way, as Denise mentioned. That's why we're putting it before you without a strong recommendation to one direction or the other.
So I have a follow-up question on that real quick. If we do the payoff, can we still go down the road that you mentioned and be reimbursed?
Probably not. Once you pay it with the general fund, it would be really hard to then go back and try to reimburse the general fund later because we don't have RDA budgets in this area at this time. Right now, it's a debt to the RDA area, but once you wipe that debt clean, you can go claw it back later.
Gotcha. All right, thank you. Any further questions for staff or, well, for staff before we open the public hearing? All right, seeing none, thank you. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. The procedures and policies here are the same as they have been for the other 4 public hearings and citizen comment. You'll have 3 minutes if you want to address the council on this issue. Anything in this budget amendment for the current fiscal year that's almost over. Again, if you're online, raise your hand. Not seeing anybody in the room rushing forward. Mr. Anderson, anybody online?
There are 12 attendees online, none of which have raised their hand.
Wonderful. It's fun to watch that number fluctuate up and down throughout the course of the evening.
Councilmember Whitelock has raised her hand.
All right, we'll close the public hearing and go to Councilmember Whitelock.
Thank you. I do not feel that we need to be reimbursing it this year. I would like to wait personally and see if we can get other players to participate. In a year where potentially we're asking for a property tax increase, I'm not interested in paying this back this year. Thank you.
Councilmember Green.
I just as soon adopt the ordinance as is. I'd like to, if we reimburse the RDA and what we're going to have is we're going to have 2 options, right? We're going to put, and just nod your head north and south if I'm right, Denise. We have the $1.5 million and we either put it in the RDA funds and reimburse or we put it in the CIP. That's what we're talking about. If we put it in the RDA funds, we can still use it for CIP type projects because we can still use it to pay for capital improve. I mean, we've used the CIP, we're using RDA to pay for water tanks, right? So we can use that, we can use the RDA money to improve things in the areas that we need to, and it gives us an extra $1.5 million now to focus on some of the RDA stuff that we need to focus. And so that's why I'm leaning towards that, is that if the money's in the RDA, it's not like it's going to go, well, it may go to a fund that goes unused if we've done the same history that we've done the last 3 or 4 years and not done anything substantial with the RDA that I've complained about. And hopefully we get some shifts in the RDA so that we can use the RDA money to improve things. But at the end of the day, we can, it's not like the money that if we put it in the RDA, it's not like it's just going to sit there and be useless. We can use that for RDA purposes.
Okay, so let me clarify. So our redevelopment agency fund is, and the way we report it, is one agency, right? So it can use all of the money that it has in the RDA. There are areas that have lots of money in them, right? Millions of dollars. RDA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all are older areas and have quite a bit of money in them that we are going to be working on a strategic plan for, right? One of the EDA areas has quite a bit of money in it. Others have agreements that bring taxing increment to 0. Like I get the tax increment and then we write the check out to agencies. This $1.5 million, this is an area that while designated and approved, does not have any agreements, does not have participation by other taxing entities. So they have not bought into a plan for that area at all. We don't have any agreements. And so when we wrote the check out of this, it brought that area into negative $1.5 million. And in essence, those other RDA areas loaned, right, the RDA, the EDA, that money. So that EDA has been negative for 5 or 6 years, almost 6 years now. So it's taking the resources from the other funds because it's negative. This $1.5 million would just bring it flush to zero and start that all over again. So yes, Councilmember Green, it does provide $1.5 million in addition to the RDA fund overall, because right now we're using other RDA areas to pay that bill every year, right? And it's growing as interest accrues because we have to accrue even on a negative area. So that debt continues to grow with interest earnings or interest expense during that time period because those other areas have loaned that money. And therefore, those funds can't be used for capital projects in those other areas because it's holding the redevelopment agency fund whole, right? You've got a debt here and you've got a surplus here, and this surplus is filling up that hole. So you've got water that's even. So yes, in some ways, Councilmember Green, it does provide additional opportunities for capital projects in the redevelopment agencies. But they would be limited. They're not as open as like the entire city, right? They would need to have a nexus to those areas in some way or another.
Everybody clear as mud? Okay, let's check.
This one's hard. I'm sorry. I don't know how to better explain it.
All right. Any further questions or comments or motions or emotions? Go ahead, Councilmember
Well,
Green.
we'll just start at the baseline. I'm going to move to approve ordinance number 24-28, amending the city's annual budget for FY ending June 30th, 2024.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Green, seconded by Councilmember Bloom, and this is to approve as proposed in the packet. Any discussion to that motion? I have all kinds of thoughts, but I'm just going to leave it right there. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote.
Councilmember Whitelock,
No.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Bador,
Yes.
Chair Jacob,
I'm going to say no.
Councilmember Bloom,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lamb.
No.
Thank you. I show that motion passes 4-3.
That's fine.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a fun one. Could go either way. Next item on the agenda, we're done with public hearings, so yay. Next item up is item 6A. This is business item, ordinance 2427, amending Title 174 duties of the mayor and amending 17A1 duties of the CAO. Goes to Mr. Chandler for introduction.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As council may recall, recently we went through and made some pretty substantial revisions to Title I, Chapter 8. As part of those revisions, we identified a set of duties that were duties assigned to the mayor and duties that were assigned to the CAO. Those duties previously were included in Title I, Chapter 8, which was dedicated primarily to department heads and to organization of the administrative branch. What we're recommending with the ordinance tonight is that those duties be moved to Title I, Chapter 7 for the mayor, so that they would be there with the other mayoral duties that are provided under city ordinance. And then also to create Title I, Chapter 7A, which would be a section dedicated to the duties of the CAO. And those duties that are coming over remain unchanged from what they were prior in Title I, Chapter 8. It's mostly just a reorganization. There are a couple of little word level changes trying to kind of modernize and clean up some of the language that's in there. But it's primarily just an organizational move to make it a little bit easier to identify the duties of the CAO and to keep the duties of the mayor all in one place as opposed to spreading them into this other section that was dedicated to the structure of the city administration.
Excellent. Any questions, comments, discussion, or motions on this?
I just have a question, kind of comment.
Go
On the
ahead.
CAO, the red line copy on line 26. I'm just, do we want the word, it's with the right to, I'll read the whole thing. Subject to state statute and council rules, attending all open city council meetings with the right to take part in all discussions as requested by the council. Requested just, I don't know. I like invited better is all. Requested seems very formal, and in our meetings, I don't think we request Corbin to speak. I think we invite him to speak. So it's not a huge thing. When I read it, it wasn't comfortable.
Councilmember Green.
State statute doesn't actually address whether the CAO can talk with, when the council, so we're allowing that with this ordinance. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. State statute doesn't provide a lot of direction.
Yeah, well,
on
state
the
statute only
CAOs.
says the mayor can, it specifically says the mayor can participate, but it doesn't include anybody else. So what we're doing by ordinance is allowing the CAO to participate. Is that correct?
I think that's a fair.
We're
summary.
we're expanding on what state statute a little says to do.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, there's not a lot in state statute that addresses the CAO's duties. It's primarily just as delegated by the mayor. And I think what we're doing here is just saying that is something that the mayor is delegating to the CAO, providing some predictability and structure in those interactions.
Any further comments or questions or motions? Or motion, Councilmember Lamb.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve ordinance number 24-27, amending Title 174, duties of the mayor, and amending 17A1, duties of the CAO.
Second.
All right, motion by Councilmember Lamb, seconded by Councilmember Shelton. Is there discussion to the motion? Councilmember Green.
Just a quick comment. I've already addressed my concerns with the city administrator, and I will just leave it at that. I will be voting for it, although I have some reservations.
All right, further discussion? All right, let's go to a roll call vote.
Councilmember Bloom,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Chair Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Bador,
Yes.
Councilmember Green.
Yes.
Thank you. I show that motion passes 7-0.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll go to business item 6B. This is resolution 24-024, establishing the water and sewer rates. Denise.
Resolution 2424 establishes the sewer and water rates. We're required to go through this process anytime that we change the sewer and water rates. And they're specific to only those utilities. So it's an interesting piece of code. So on the exhibit, you'll see the water utility rates as they're proposed in the tentative budget as it's been discussed. It's recommending a 2.5% rate increase to the water utility and a 10% rate increase to the sewer utility. And so we'll leave this resolution to the body. Thank you.
Questions, Councilmember Green.
I'm going to ask the dumb question. Maybe I ask this every year.
Yeah.
But why is this a resolution? It seems funny that we can set the water rates and the mayor doesn't have any like veto authority over that. Is that in the state statute itself?
It is.
Okay. So it's
odd.
just the Utah legislature doesn't know the difference between ordinance or resolution in our form of government.
Well, our form of government is not the
Is-
majority.
is the
and
anomaly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any further questions, discussions, or motion?
Chair, I just have a comment.
Go ahead.
I know that in this, it talks about that in September, a notice will be given to the residents about the increase in the sewer fee. I guess it's really an ask that I have. I would ask that communications could start sending something out a little sooner than September to help them understand the why, because I feel it's kind of a large jump. And I'd like our residents to understand why that large jump is occurring, not just that it's occurring. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or a motion? Councilmember Green.
Move to approve resolution 24-024.
I'll go ahead and, so Councilmember Bador.
Second.
I'll let Councilmember Bador second. That's what I was gonna say. All right, motion by Councilmember Green, seconded by Councilmember Bador. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, let's roll call vote.
Councilmember Bador,
Yes.
Chair Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom.
Yes.
Thank you. I show that motion passes 7-0.
Wonderful. Business item 6C, resolution 24-023, amending the West Jordan City Consolidated Fee Schedule. Ms. Steck, to include the previously discussed fees.
Exactly. That was the order. That's why we did this order. So that you've already done the water and sewer rates, but they are included in the consolidated fee schedule as they've been proposed in that resolution, as are the fees as they have been discussed by the council. We recognize that there are some fees that the council is still concerned about and would like a study done on. And let me assure you that that study will be performed and that we will be continuing to work on bringing an amendment to the consolidated fee schedule for some of those fees that have been discussed previously. Unless there's ones I don't know about, but these are mostly related to development fees that I'm aware of.
Excellent. Discussions or questions, Councilmember Green?
On the fee schedule, page number 27.
Oh, dear.
Denise, don't worry about it. It's a $50 reinstatement of the green waste.
Oh.
Do we
Oh,
still need,
gosh.
do we need that?
We need to get rid of it. So sorry. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm gonna give credit where credit is due, and I got a text from Chris McConaughey that
Thank
said,
you.
what is that in the fee schedule? So, because I missed it too, and it was like, okay. So yes, so should we strike that out make that as if we move?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, further discussion, questions? Seeing none, you want to stab at that?
I'm going to move to approve resolution number 24-23, amending the West Jordan City Consolidated Fee Schedule, including striking the $50 green waste reinstatement fee on page 27 of the fee schedule.
I'll second that. While we're here, any discussion? We have a motion by Councilmember Green, seconded by Councilmember Jacob. Any discussion to that motion? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and vote.
Councilmember Whitelock,
No.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom,
Yes.
Chair Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Bador.
Yes.
Thank you. I show that motion passes 6-1.
Wonderful. And last but not least, Resolution 24-022, adopting the tentative budget for the city of West Jordan, Utah fiscal year 2025, setting August 13th, 2024 as the public hearing regarding the final adoption of the final budget with the truth and taxation. Ms. Steck.
Last one for the night. Council, first of all, let me commend you for the amount of hours that you've spent on preparing the fiscal year 2025 budget. There have been countless work sessions, discussions, reading 350 pages of information. Thank you. We know that it's a big task and it's your primary task as a council, so we appreciate the time. This resolution proposes a public hearing that the date has been provided by Salt Lake County. It is not one that we would normally meet on a Tuesday, but most municipalities do. And therefore they set these public hearing dates so that there are no overlap of taxing districts having a hearing on the same night for the same tax holder so that they can attend all of the hearings. So the proposal is for us to hold our public hearing on the final budget on Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. I need to make a correction in this resolution. I left the community room as the room that we're going to meet in, and that will need to be changed in the resolution to council chambers. I apologize for that. There's also one other correction that I will bring to your attention here in a moment. So as asked, we have given you the mayor's proposed budget and then administrative changes, those changes that I discussed with you at our last work session, that things that have come up over the last 6 weeks that we've been discussing the budget, and then council changes, things that you have proposed in the budget and changing that budget moving forward. So the mayor's proposed budget was $236 million and administrative changes are $2.4 million. And council changes were $603,000 for a total of $239 million budget. A lot of times if you're up at the legislature or talking to other elected officials, sometimes they'll ask you, what's the size of your budget? And that's your answer. It's $239 million. So the correction that I have is on Exhibit A under the general fund. The RDA administration changed by $645 and I typed it as $625. So we'll have that $20 change there. But we are bringing to a balanced budget in the general fund. And I am going to assume that you all have read Exhibit A and agreed with the changes that were proposed, amending the mayor's budget to become your tentative budget. This budget will stand and will become effective on July 1st. That will include any increases in compensation. They will begin on July 1st. Operations will continue on July 1st, using this as the operational budget for the city. Should you make any changes on the August 13th public hearing or the meeting thereafter when you adopt the property tax rate and the final budget, we will need to discuss what those changes are should you propose any change. But otherwise, this budget will stand as your operating budget until such time as you adopt a final budget, and that has to be done legislatively by the end of August. So I leave with you Resolution 2422 with your proposed tentative budget and am available to answer any questions.
Any questions for our wonderful budget staff? It's been doing a great job. I don't see any questions. I'm just going to leave a comment, and I just want to echo what Denise just said. I commend the council on the work we've done on this budget. It's been a very robust process. We've had a lot of good conversations back and forth a few times on a couple of things and up and down and side to side. And And I think we've landed in a really good spot. And I'm very, very impressed, especially with our new council members that haven't been through this before. Going through it for the first time, you guys it's been an amazing process. It's been very collaborative and very, very professionally done. And I just appreciate that. Yeah, this is my 9th budget, and it's, I think my first 4 or 5 I didn't vote in favor of. So we've come a long way, and process hasn't always been this smooth. So I appreciate everybody involved, Denise and your staff, especially. So thank you so much. Councilmember Bador.
I wanted to just echo some of those thoughts that you had in there. And I'm sure I speak a little bit for Councilmember Shelton that this was a bizarre thing. You know, you come into this and you look at the budget and you look at it and go, oh my gosh, that is a ton of money. And how anyone in the city could look at that and think that to them, it just seems like monopoly money and it just doesn't mean anything. But I want to assure people that we, as Chair Jacob has said, we spent a lot of hours and we had the department heads come to us and tell us exactly where this money was going, why it was needed. And there was a lot of discussion. And I'm sure, as one city member pointed out, I probably fumbled something in my, going back and forth with things. But I just want those listening and those paying attention that this is something that every member of this council took very seriously. And I also want to point out that the same was done with every department head that came with us. Everybody was looking at how do we best use the money that we're given? How do we best put a city forward? How do we, as Rob Bennett said earlier, how do we make sure we're being treated like the city we should be treated as? And so I want to commend not just the council, that's kind of our job. And by the way, I didn't realize we got paid for this until I was about 5 weeks into running for this position. So that came as a little surprise to me. No, oh, really? Oh, I'm going to move on from that. But it wasn't just the council. A lot of people went into this. And we'll get the credit and we'll get the hatred from people for the 7 of us sitting up here. And that's why we get those big sweet bucks that we do for being here. But I just want to commend everyone involved in the city and everyone putting this together, and just what an undertaking this is. And I was excited to be a part of it. I'm even more excited for next year now that I know a little bit more going into it. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comments or motions? All right, I'm going to go ahead and move to approve Resolution 24-022.
Second.
Okay, motion by Council Member Jacob, seconded by Council Member Shelton. Any discussion to the motion? All right, seeing none, let's roll call vote.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom,
Yes.
Chair Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember Bador,
Yes.
Councilmember Green,
No.
Vice Chair Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock.
No.
Thank you. I show that motion passes 5-2.
All right.
Thank you, council.
Thank you very much. Final items on the agenda is well, not the final, but the next items is the consent items. We have meeting minutes and a resolution on a franchise agreement with Summit IG. Councilmember Green.
Move to approve consent items 7A and B.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Green, seconded by Councilmember Bador. Any discussion to the motion? As this one has a resolution in it, we'll need a roll call vote.
Vice Chair Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Bador,
Yes.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom,
Yes.
Chair Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Thank you. I show that passes 7-0.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a closed discussion on real estate. So look for a motion to go to closed meeting.
We have to come back here.
Yep, we need to close it. We can reopen it to adjourn once we are done with the closed part.
I move to temporarily recess the meeting to convene in a closed session to discuss the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual pending a reasonably imminent litigation, to purchase, exchange, or lease of real property, or the sale of real property, including any form of water right or water shares as provided by Utah Code annotated 52-4-205, commonly referred to the Open Meeting Act that we're closing. Never mind.
I'll second. Any discussion of the motion to close? Seeing none. Somebody told me that we have to have a roll call vote, but I still don't buy it. Oh, I think we do because there's two that aren't here.
Yes, I'm sorry, you do. You need 5 votes.
Well, yeah. Seeing none, let's have a roll call vote.
Chair Jacob,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitelock,
Yes.
Councilmember Bloom,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Bador,
Yes.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lamb.
Yes.
Thank you. That passes 7-0.
All right, we'll convene in the workroom for the closed meeting. And let's give it about a 6-minute recess. 2, 3, 4. All right, we're calling back to order. Can I just do this or do we need, do you need anything before I do this?
You have to actually be sitting in your chair to be a chair.
Yeah.
I am not the chair right now. I am the stand. All right, calling back to order the open session for the city council meeting, June 26th. Same people are in the same seats. We'll take, what? Oh, seeing no further business, yeah. We'll just do this a fun way. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All right, motion to adjourn by Councilmember Green. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned.